All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and pick up where we left off from yesterday, and that is time. So I saw some of you on our 1 o'clock, did our 1 o'clock math help, so that was great. I got to help some of you. And we're going to move on to the time. So we're still working on the same worksheet, this review worksheet, just reviewing conversions. Yes, sorry, you see the dog in the back there. I don't know how else to, and the cat. So here we go. So our code that I was writing up yesterday, and all of a sudden it just felt really overwhelming, and so I stopped, and hopefully we can slow it down a little bit, because you have to multiply not by tens now. We're moving to customary that we use in the US, and our time we use everywhere. They use the same time, because that would be weird. Different time, different minutes per hour in different countries, that would be weird. Okay, so time, our code for time is hours. Let's start with, we have hours, minutes, and seconds. Yep, so hours, minutes, seconds. Okay, hours, minutes, seconds. So just like our kilometers, meters, centimeters, millimeters, we're doing the same thing. Here's our larger unit. Okay, that's the bigger. 1 hour is bigger than a minute. A minute is bigger than a second. Is more than a second. So an hour to the minute, we're going to multiply by 60. Okay, so going from an hour to a minute, because there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. Okay, so now going from minute to second, there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. So you're going to go times 60. So when we go from seconds to minutes, we're going from the smaller to the bigger. Now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to divide by 60, which gets a little tricky. Okay, and then from minutes to hours, divide by 60. Opposite of multiply is divide. Okay, so let's look at number 1. So if you look on your paper, you look at number 1 in the time section. Number 1 is 2 hours equals how many minutes? Okay, so we look at our code up here. We're going from hours to minutes. Okay, so hours to minutes, we multiply by 60, right? Multiply by 60. So 60 times 2. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 6 is 12. So 120 minutes. So there's 120 minutes in 2 hours. 60, 120. That is number 1. Let's look at number 2, because it has a decimal in there. So 4.5. So number 2, 4.5 hours equals how many minutes? Okay, so again, we're going from hours to minutes. So we're going to have to multiply by 60. So we have to multiply by 60. So 60, actually I'm going to put 45 on top. 4.5. 4.5 times 60. Now, when you do this, you can do standard algorithm, or you could do area model if you don't totally understand this. The hard part is that decimal. So I suggest moving into this standard algorithm. Zoe! Okay, so let's do this standard algorithm. So 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 4 is 0. Because we're moving over to the tens place, we have to hold that tens place. We'll drop down to the next row. We have to hold that tens place with the 0. And then we go 6 times 5. 6 times 5 is 30. So the 0 there, carry the 3. Then 6 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24. Plus 3, 24. 5, 26, 27. 27. Then we add these up. So we have 0, 0, 7, 2. So 2,700. Oops. Don't put that in yet. But we have this decimal. So what do we do with this decimal? Okay, when you're multiplying, you're going to just count. So remember there's a decimal there. You're going to count how many numbers are on the right side of the decimal. So here there's no places here. And here there's just one place. So we're going to start over here and we're going to move the decimal one place because there's only one number on the right side of the decimal. So we go from here and we move it one place to there. So your answer is 270. There's 270 minutes. Okay, so the other way you could do this, which might be a little bit easier, and I have a feeling some of you probably figured out. Okay, if we took 4.5 hours, so if we know 4 hours, there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. If I took my 4 and I did 60 times 4, okay, 0, 6 times 4 is 24. There's 240 hours, and then you have this half hour. Okay, well, what's one half of an hour? A half an hour is 30 minutes, right? 30 minutes. So then you would just add 30 minutes to this. This one actually might be a little less confusing for some of you. Okay? So I know some of you might have questions about that, and I strongly encourage you to join the Zoom on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Okay, Thursday at 1 o'clock. And I will answer your questions. Okay, let's do number 3, because it's going from minutes to seconds now. Number 3, minutes to seconds, 67 minutes equals how many seconds? Well, if we look at our code, minutes to seconds, there's 60 seconds in a minute, so we're going to multiply by 60. So we're going to multiply 67 minutes by 60. So 67 times 60. Okay, practicing our standard algorithm here. 0 times 7 is 0. 0 times 6 is 0. We drop we drop down to this row and we move over to the tens place. So I have to put a 0 for that 10. 10 has a 0. Hold that zeros place. 7 times 6 is 7 times 6, 42, right? So 42. 6 times 6 is 36 plus 4. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. And I just wrote on myself 40. And then we add it up. 0, 2, 0, 4. 1, 2, 3, comma. So your answer is 4,020. Okay, I know these are tricky. These are kind of hard. Let's go from a smaller, do we do a smaller to a, it looks, yep, a smaller. So let's go to number 7. Number 7, you're going from seconds to minutes. So you're going from a smaller to a bigger. Okay, so number 7 is 480 seconds equals how many minutes? Alright, so if we go to our code, our chart, a little code up here, seconds to minutes, we are dividing by 60. Okay, dividing by 60. Hours, or you mean seconds to minutes. Divide by 60. So 480 divided by 60, except for I'm going to think about, so I'm going to break this down. I'm not, because this is what it would look like if you wrote. Okay, so that's kind of, that's really big. That's hard to do. So what we're going to do is think about how many times 6 goes into 48. How many times just 6 goes into 48, dropping those zeros. So 7 times 6 is 42. So 6 times 8 is 48. Right? 6 and 8. So if we looked at it this way, we drop that 0. 6 goes into 48 8 times. So 6 times 8 is 48. So we subtract 0, bring down the 0, 0. So 6 times 0 is 0. So our answer would be, we have to put another 0 on there because we are missing that 0 here. So we're going to add another 0. But that doesn't make any sense. Minutes. We're dividing by 60. Oh my goodness. Okay, my brain just got off a little bit, and so when we're doing this, so right here, we took this 0 off. So what we're doing is taking a 0, because if we were to put this 0 back in here, we would take the 0 off here. And so that's going to give us 60 times 8 is 480. So that means that there's 8 in 8 minutes, there's 480 seconds. Okay, that I'm sure thoroughly confused you, so let's do another one. Because I confused myself even. So let's look at our number 8. Number 8, you're going from, let's see, 720 seconds to minutes. Equals how many minutes? Okay, so really what you're looking at is you can drop this 0 and you're going to say how many times. You could just drop both zeros actually on the 60, because you're going to divide this 720 seconds divided by 60. So you're going to just drop both of the zeros and look at 72 divided by 6. So what's 72 divided by 6? And that would be let's see, 72 divided by 6, 9 times 8, 10, let's see, my brain is really not working today, is it? 72 divided by 6, 12, right? 12 times 6. My brain has done a lot of thinking. It's the evening and I was on Zoom meetings all day. Okay, so 12 times 6 is 72, right? I'm sure all of you guys already had that in your head, right? 6 times 1, 72. So 12. And that's the way you can check. You can always check. 12 times 60, if you put a 0 on that, it would be 720 seconds. Okay, so that's number 8. Minutes to hours. So let's do a minute to the hour. So number 9. Number 9 is 1,500 minutes equals how many hours? So again, we're going from small, these are the hard ones, small to larger numbers. So we're dividing. So the number's going to get smaller, but the unit gets bigger. The unit is getting bigger. So 1,500 minutes, 1,500 minutes equals how many hours? So we're still dividing by 60. Okay, divide by 60. In this case, if you look at 150 divided by 6. 6 goes into 15, 2. 6 times 2 is 12. 5 take away 2 is 3. Bring down the 0. How many times does 6 go into 30? 5. 6 times 5 is 30. So that would be 25. But remember, let's see, is that right? Yep. So 25. So then you could then check. So 25 is 25 hours times 60, 1,500. 0. 0 times 2 is 0. Drop down, hold that tens place. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 2 is 12. 13, 14, 15. Add those up. We get 1,500. Okay, so that is correct. You can always check your work. So 25 hours. They're kind of tricky, aren't they? Okay, let's look at number 10. Okay, so number 10 75 minutes equals how many hours? Okay, so we're going from minutes to hours. Look at our code. Minutes to hours. So we're dividing by 60 again. So this one's going to be tricky. So 75 minutes. Actually, when we're looking at this kind of number, if you think of 60 minutes in 1 hour. So if we took 60, that's away from here. So 5, 7 take away 6 is 1. So that's 15 minutes. So if I took 60 minutes out of here, that's 1 hour. 1 hour. But then there's 15 minutes left over. When you're thinking about time and decimals, you're going to have, so we talked about 0.5 yesterday. 0.5 is a half. Right here, 0.25, when we're talking minutes, that would be 15 minutes. This is 30 minutes. And 0.75 equals 45 minutes. So you have to break your clock up into quarters. Okay, so you break your clock up into quarters, and when you go from 12 to 3, that's 15 minutes. That's a quarter of your clock, 0.25. Then it goes down to the 6, which is half of your clock. That's 30 minutes. Then your minute hand moves over to the 9 over here for 40. That's 45 minutes. And that would be 3/4 of the clock, 0.75. And then 1 whole is 60. So I could take this 15 and I'm going to add it, it's 0.25. Okay, that one's tricky too. And then that was number 10, seconds to hours. So let's look at seconds to hours. Let's look at number 11. 28,800 seconds equals how many hours? Okay, notice now seconds to hours. You're going to go 60 times 60 is 3,600. But actually, seconds. It might be easier to go from seconds to minutes than to hours. So, because seconds to minutes, you're only having to do the divide by 60. So if I took 28,800 seconds divided by 6, you know what? I'm going to have you guys cross off. This is almost too hard to just do over. I'm going to have you cross off 11 and 12. So don't do 11 and don't do 12 because it really needs to be done in person. It's really hard to do over the phone. Over the internet. So just stop there. Do what you can down at the bottom here for time. Time is a little bit harder because you're not just moving the place values, the decimal place. You're not just talking tens, hundreds, thousands. It's a little bit harder. So do what you can and hop on Thursday at 1 o'clock. I'll remind you guys, I'll post the link again. So join me Thursday at 1 if you have questions on any of this review sheet. Then tomorrow we'll get into the teaching set number 1. Bye.